My opinion of the voter ID bill. Well, I guess you know that just earlier this month, Governor Corbett passed what was House Bill 934, the voter ID bill. What do I think of it in a word?
What's your opinion?
I think it's a disaster. I think it's a mistake. I think it's an attempt to regulate that which does not need that kind of regulation. At its very minimum, it's costly. We're a government that's cutting here, there, and everywhere. It's estimated it will cost $5 to $11 million to implement. But I think it's much more than that. The voter identification bill, as you probably all have heard, will require us when we go to vote to come in with valid photo ID. Valid photo ID. That sounds pretty easy to all of us here in the room. Or most of us, maybe. We have it. But there are lots of people in the community who simply don't. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't have their fundamental right to vote. I think it's an attempt to take the vote to disenfranchise certain groups. We know that the elderly will struggle with this. Those who don't drive and don't have voter ID, how are they going to go get it? They'll have to take a couple of buses or get a friend to take them to the DMV, and they better have their birth certificate, a valid raised seal birth certificate, along with their Social Security card, in order to get in line at the DMV, in order to get their photo ID. People who have been voting in this community, who could be identified by the people who watch the voter, they've been voting for decades in this community, and yet they might be disenfranchised. Many people call it a solution without a problem, because there are so few cases of documented voter impersonation. The statistics I have found, fewer than 10 in 10 years, and yet we risk taking away the fundamental right to vote of potentially hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians. So let me say loudly, I am against the voter ID bill. If I had the chance to do anything, spend a little money regarding voting, I'd go the exact opposite way. I'd figure out how we get more people involved in voting, how we get more civic involvement, how we make it easier for people to vote, citizens to vote. It's a fundamental right. It's like heir to democracy. I would never want to be a part of this. Just so you know, this spring, in the special election on April the 24th, we're going to do a dry run here in Pennsylvania. They're going to ask you for your voter ID. You won't be kept from voting if you don't produce it, but it's a dry run. So I think we'll see how it goes. I think it's a very disappointing move on the part of our government, and I hope that after that dry run, the legislature revisits it and takes that away.
Thank you.